So, Jacob, tell me what your PhD is about. Maybe start by giving me your title.
My dissertation is on male cross-dressing performance in London between 1930 and 1970, but I'm also drawing parallels to other cities in England for comparative analysis. I've kind of been able to identify certain trends from kind of the tail end of the music hall era into cross-dressing performance actually on the front lines of World War II and in prisoner of war camps, and then touring productions, which came out of that into kind of the Danny LaRue era, I guess you could say. So I've kind of been able to, so far, note those progressions.
Yeah.
So.
How are you doing your research? You know, what kind of archives are you using? What are your sources?
I've been going to the British Library archives in particular, looking at censorship documents, which help you get a sense of not only the nature of the performances themselves, but also what certain establishment figures might have considered a bit racy. And I've also been going to the Victoria and Albert Museum performance archives, which is really great for, looking at playbills and advertisements to see how these plays were and general performances were marketed. So, yeah, there's a real wealth of material out there, but I'm just starting to scratch the surface of that, and I'm excited to dig in more.
Why exactly did you choose this topic? You know, how do you think that it sort of engages with history, and what's your main contribution?
Well, I thought it was an interesting way of, looking into gender history. I think it's interesting how male cross-dressing performance is quite cross-cultural, so there are examples of it in pretty much every continent, except for Antarctica, but soon maybe. So there's lots of information out there, and also cross-dressing performance has been used by gender theorists in the past to talk about stark examples of the performativity of gender roles. So this thesis is sort of using history to put those theories to the test. So.
Okay, so if you can just sort of encapsulate briefly, what is the contribution that you make to history?
Right. So basically, there hasn't been that much on male cross-dressing performance or female cross-dressing performance written. What there is out there is really, really good, but I feel like I can still dig in there more, especially with reference to the big gender theorists out there, like Judith Butler and Marjorie Garber.
So why did you come to Manchester? Why the University of Manchester?
I thought Manchester seemed like a really good fit because they had great gender studies focus already and great historians who focus on gender issues in particular. And when I emailed the person who ended up being one of my supervisors...
Who is this?
Professor Doan, Laura Doan. She emailed back straight away, kind of really sold Manchester to me, talked about how great it was for studying history in general, but specifically gender studies and gender history. So kind of the stars aligned and everything came together in Manchester, which is great for me.